This is Reah, and this is Just the Who of Us, where we talk about a range of topics including life events, current events, spirituality, entertainment, family relationships, as well as answering listener questions and more.
Welcome back. Today we have with us Nidia returning to give us more wonderful conversation on our brain. And I say our brain because she and I have a similar brain.
Yes.
Um, so today we're going to actually talk about neurotypical brains versus okay, neurotypical brains versus neurodivergent brains.
Yes.
So Nidia if you missed her last episode, we talked briefly about ADHD. Actually, you've had two episodes, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So her previous, we talked about ADHD as we both were diagnosed with ADHD at different times in our life. And then her episode before that was kind of introducing her and talked about what kind of got her into the career field that she's in. And so now, today we're going to kind of expand that a little bit further and talk about neurotypical versus neurodivergent. It's something that we kind of feel like, and I say we because I feel like you probably feel this way too, but it's something that's kind of misunderstood often. Things like ADHD, autism, there's a wide spectrum of neurodivergent brains, and a lot of people who aren't super educated with things like our need for this kind of like to control our environment and our, sometimes difficulty with social cues and social settings and things. If you don't know a ton about it, especially when you're dealing with kids, it can kind of just be misconstrued as just like being difficult,
Right.
or not quite emotionally intelligent, or, these things that are kind of like, well, it's not really necessarily that. This is more kind of why. So, my hope in this conversation is that we can reach some people and, kind of get people to understand a little bit of when is this someone's not being difficult, they're struggling, or, this is kind of beyond their control. And in children and adults, right? Because we are adults and we have ADHD, and I know there are times like I'm a very social person. I can talk to really anybody, but there are sometimes in social situations that I might need to kind of dial it back a little bit. And it's not that I'm trying to like take over. Um, you know, and then I've noticed that in my kid, one of my kids sometimes too. I'm like, hey, like we need to dial it down. And sometimes, like before, it might have been like, okay, you're just trying to get attention, you're trying to take over, whatever. And looking back and thinking, sometimes we just kind of need to be, hey, just let's just bring it down a little bit.
Right. No, and that I totally relate to that because part of being neurodivergent means that we try to fit in a world that it's meant for neurotypical brains, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so one of the things that happens is we start masking. We start telling ourselves, I need to behave in this other way and not who I truly am, because who I truly am is not accepted in the world, right?
Right.
So when you were talking about like toning it down or dialing down, I was thinking, one of the things that I had to mask was how I relate to others, which
Mhm.
is through my own experiences, right? So if you're telling me something and I'm trying to connect with how you felt, I may be like, oh yeah, I remember this time that I did this thing and it felt similar to that. And people may
Yes.
take that as I'm trying to take over the conversation or I'm trying to one up you, but really I'm just trying to connect. I'm
Yeah.
trying to say, I get it.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. I've never felt so understood than more so than in this moment, because it's so true. Like I find myself doing it all the time. And sometimes, I have kind of tried, I've had I have kind of been able to read the situation to where, okay, this is just me and my own emotional awareness and intelligence journey to say, is this a situation where I should just listen? Or is this a situation where they may need this support? And that takes it takes thorough thought, right? Because you have to
Right.
think in that situation to do that, where we naturally, yeah, I want you to feel related to. So I'm going to tell you a story that's like your story. And so now you can feel like, oh, okay, this other person went through that too. 100%. Yes.
Yes, yes. Um, I was thinking about this podcast that I've been listening to, which is all about neurodivergent brains. And one of the things that it talks about a lot is rejection sensitivity dysphoria, or RSD,
Mm,
which is something that we may go through, which means like actual or perceived rejection may trigger a physical reaction in us, like pain.
yeah.
And some people may feel it in different places. I know I feel it in my chest, and it's like, oh, and you just want to be quiet, right? But those things happen very often when we're trying to connect with others through our own stories, right?
Yeah.
Because then people may make a comment or their face may change when we're trying to connect. And so what does that do to us? It drains our battery because we're having, like you said, be very conscious in the moment. What am I saying? Did I make anybody feel bad? And we're
Yeah.
already over attuned to our environment. So then
Yeah.
if you're an extrovert, you may just want to be home and become in a different way introverted, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had someone tell me before, and this person, they're an adult. They also were diagnosed with ADHD. And so I was kind of like, well, that's kind of judgy, but they said to me, and they know me very well, and it was weird because I'm like, well, you know why I'm doing this. But they were, talking about something, and then, or no, someone else was talking, and then I, gave them a similar story, and the person was like, it's not about you. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here and shut up now. Like,
Yes. Yes.
I'll just go
Wow.
away and never come back.
Right. Well, but then, that leads me into we have a hard time making connection with other people because of those things, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It,
Yeah,
it
like
makes it so hard. Hmm.
yeah, like I can talk and conversate with anybody, but I would say I only have like two people that I really consider like friends that I rely on. And I know I can talk to them about anything and vice versa, and we genuinely don't judge each other, and they're not gonna look at me like, okay, I was talking about me, kind of
Right.
thing. But it's so true. Like we can talk a lot, we can talk to people, but when it comes to making like genuine, permanent connections, it can be very difficult.
Yes. And part of that, and my brain is going to go everywhere because I just took my medication. So I'm full on ADHD right now.
Perfect.
But, I think that is so true. Like we can connect with a lot of people,
Mhm.
and even be an open book and share a lot about ourselves because we tend to be driven by emotions, right?
Yeah.
Like we make
Yeah.
decisions out of our emotions instead of our head most of the time, not always.
Yeah.
Um, but then that means that we're constantly questioning, what does this person want from me? Because we typically get taken advantage of very often.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I can relate to you. I have only two good friends that I'm like, I can stop talking to them for a year and then come back and talk like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
or like have a big ass thread in our Instagram of just memes or videos, short reels, right? Um,
Uh-huh.
but we don't have to open and close the conversation. It's just like a
Yeah.
continuous conversation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I'll say three. One is actually the same age as my oldest kid. So, you know, she's like another one of my children in a sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it's very kind of limiting because unless you find other neurodivergent people who, you know, you can relate to, it's difficult to kind of and I for a long time didn't like think or like acknowledge that. You know, that wasn't something that I acknowledged until like my 30s. You know, because
Yes, same.
also, well, when you're a kid and a teenager, you think everyone's your friend and blah blah blah.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And then another thing that may happen is someone who has ADHD, especially women, have a higher percentage of also having ASD, which with ASD, you may have trouble reading social cues,
Mm,
right? So you
yeah.
may think somebody really likes you and really they're just being polite.
Yeah.
And then you discover, oh crap, like I thought this was a friend, right? So
Right.
it's really hard to make connections. And then as you get older, I mean, I've heard from a lot of women, not just neurodivergent, but for a lot of women, it's hard to make friendships after you get out of school. It's
Yeah,
so hard to find new people and connect. But
yeah,
neurodivergent individuals tend to gravitate towards other neurodivergent individuals.
that's true. You know, it's funny, it's kind of opposite for me though, because
Okay.
the two close friends that I do have, I made like late 20s and 30s.
Okay.
And a large portion of that is because a lot of the people that I went to school with kind of went in a different direction. And I followed that direction to an extent, but once I got into my mid 20s, you know, I already had multiple children and I started like, I gotta get my shit together. And there's a lot of addiction and alcoholism where I grew up, and a lot of people that I knew fell into that. And so you know, my friends that I had when I was a kid or in high school, we don't really have anything in common anymore in the sense of how our life, you know, the direction our lives went in. And so, well, they'll always be a friend to me, but as an adult friend, we, you know, like I know you and I love you, and that's kind of really where that lies. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah,
But
you
that,
have to set more boundaries around
yes.
that friendship. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and you know, I've actually gone back and tried to like rekindle friendships from like elementary school and middle school, and it just didn't like I don't know, it just didn't stick. Like maybe that was me, maybe that was them, but I don't know. It's just like that's a lot of effort because we're completely different people.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I sit down and think about it, I have one friend that I keep talking to that is from high school, but I moved from my hometown. So people
Right.
from my hometown in Mexico, I don't necessarily keep up with them.
Yeah.
But this other friend, she was 4 years, or she is 4 years older than me. And we both came to this country the same year, right? She
Okay.
was older. So we had that experience in common. And then my other two friends that I talk to more often, I met them in college. Well, one in college and one in my master's program. But
Yeah.
after that, like I've made friends, but they haven't stick. And and maybe there's also the component of the live experiences, right? Like being an immigrant. Um,
Right.
there could also be like the experience of maybe childhood, but then during, like, for example, my master's program, my friend and I were going through very similar things. So maybe, I don't know, I'm like processing that right now. Maybe it's also about like what experiences you have with these people, right? That solidify
Yeah.
the friendship. But my
Mhm.
two friends that I keep up contact with most often, they both have ADHD.
Really? So
Yeah,
then yeah, there's that commonality, like your brains get each other.
exactly. Yes. And it's like free judgment zone because
Mm-hmm.
we get each other, right? Like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I'm always late, and I always say the magic number is 7 minutes. For whatever reason, I'm always 7 minutes
That's
late.
hilarious.
Yes, yes. I don't know what is it about that number. But they know that, okay, she's late, but she will show up.
Yeah.
If she's not, she will
Yeah.
tell me, right?
I'm the same way. Yeah. Yeah. Like now with my husband, he was always like a 15 minutes, hard 15 minutes early person, if not more. And so, since living with him, like I do better, you know, and plus I don't have a bunch of little kids anymore to like have to, throw in the car and go everywhere. And so between um, being with this put together neurotypical person and not having older kids now, I'm a little bit better. But there is a common joke in our house that me and my oldest daughter run on CPT. And it's just always been that way. But I'm doing better, Now,
Yeah.
my daughter, she is not ADHD. And I'm like, I can tell because you don't have any of these components. But she will be the 15 to, if not 30 minutes late person every single
Wow.
time. And then I'm looking back and I'm like, damn, that is so me most of your life growing up. This is my fault. It's one of those things. It's like, yeah, you unfortunately got that from me.
Well, and that goes back to nature versus nurture,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Like, a lot
Mm,
of times it's our brain that it's wired that way, but also, like, in my case, my mom was always late, so my brain is already not there, right? Like,
right.
it has different circuitry, and then my mom brain forced that with her unmanaged ADHD, right? Yeah.
Right. So my mom is unmanaged. For a long time, was unmanaged. And honestly, it wasn't until I went to college for psychology and I really started understanding the brain and, like, I'm like, oh, I do need to probably do something about this. Like, I
Yeah.
probably need to get, shit under control at some point. But it wasn't until like it took me paying for a formal education.
Right. Because there's a consequence, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and like talking about kids. So my youngest, he's only 10, and so there's a lot of stuff that I see in him, and I'm like, I don't, I, I don't know like his full biological components, so I don't know how his biological father's brain works. I know what I know about biology, biology, biology from his maternal biology,
Mhm.
but and I don't she doesn't have ADHD. He does. Now that could be paternal. I don't know. But some of this stuff I'm like, yeah, that's my fault. That's my fault. Because
Yeah.
and then he's like super ADHD, as was my oldest son and my middle daughter. But him and I, like, I'm going through this kind of discovery journey his whole life, right? And I'm learning these things about myself, and I'm learning emotional intelligence, and I'm learning why I do some of the things that I do in relation to, because for a long time, I didn't even relate brain chemistry to ADHD. I don't know what I thought it was. And this is someone I was diagnosed at like 7, right? And
Wow.
I'm like, I didn't diagnose anything with anything chemically,
Right.
and I are not diagnosed, but I didn't correlate my ADHD with anything chemically. I was just like, oh, this is just what I do, you know?
Right.
Um,
Your personality.
that's
That's,
yeah, that's
yeah.
just me.
Uh-huh.
I can't help it. And it kind of when we have that, well, I can't help it mentality, we don't really focus on. doing much about it. It's
Right.
kind of like, well, this is just how it is. And so for him, like his whole life has been me trying to get my shit under control and understand myself and you know
Sure.
and then here he is trying to do the same thing because now, well, what I do with most of my times, I focus on mental health and, like ADHD and relationships and all these things. So, like, his whole life has been me figuring things out and then in
Yeah.
turn kind of teaching him. So it's like, it's good in a way because he's learning a lot more about himself than my other two kids with ADHD because I didn't know most of this then. And at the same time, it's has its negatives because I'm going through between self-discovery and grief.
And
He's also
teaching.
going through that with me. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I love that though, because he's gonna have a much better version of yourself, but also uh
yeah.
see that it's possible to change, right?
That's
Um
true.
and my husband, I'm gonna say he has like neurodiverse traits, but he's neurotypical and
Hmm.
he's very disciplined. One thing um that we're doing with our kids is keep them in sports, because my husband played baseball since he was very young, and that taught him so much discipline. Like, I admire his discipline
Yeah.
because he goes to the gym every single day, no matter what. No matter what. We've been married, actually our anniversary was Saturday, and we've been married for 11 years, and I've
Wow.
known him for 13. But every single day he goes to the gym. Like, there
That's
hasn't been
dedication.
one day that he doesn't. Yes. And that grounds me,
Yeah.
because now it's like, okay, what are the traditions in our family? And
Hmm.
one of the things that we talked about, like for this new year of marriage, right? The 12 year, it's our family, it's a family that shows up in time.
Oh, I
And
love that.
and him making that the goal for the family took
Hmm.
so much pressure off of me, right? Because it's not just about mom needs to or
Right.
get her shit together and show up on time.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
the family does what we can for everybody to show up on time,
I
right?
love that. I love it. Sorry, there's a glare here and I'm trying to get out of it.
Oh no. There
Okay.
you go. It's a window.
Hold on one second. Because I guess I have to change the ways I have the blinds. Feel like such an old lady. Like I've got this little heater going in here and like
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
oh my goodness. Okay. Well, now it's going right across my face. Gosh.
That's what happens at my actual office. Like, right here, it's at my home, but I have a window right in front of me, and I
Uh-huh.
always have a glare. Like, it looks like I have no eyebrow because the light is just
Right?
like watching my face off.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Now it's just on your shoulder.
Right. It's weird though. It's like no matter where I move, it's still there. And I don't know why. Okay. Now it's on. Okay, you know what? It's fine. It'll be fine. So, yeah, but having that support system is really important for us too, and having a support system where you're not being judged and people can make certain accommodations. Like sometimes we need accommodations made because I have a cousin that I'm really close to. And one thing that I love about talking to her is that she doesn't have ADHD. She has a couple kids that do, at least one, maybe two. And then she's adopted two children from another country. She learned a lot about children and how their minds work and, different this other culture and all these things to accommodate her children, right? And she will do that for people when, like I said, she doesn't have ADHD, so she doesn't think like I think, but when we have conversations, she'll discuss things with me and maybe even bring things to my attention that I wouldn't have thought about in a loving way and not like judgy. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because and I think that's amazing to have somebody that way because what I hear a lot is for example, the being late, right? People tend to put that in a label of being irresponsible, being careless,
Right. Right.
not respecting other people's time, when in reality, our brain is just not time-based, right?
Yeah.
Like we also have a hard time gauging how long things are gonna take us. Um,
Yes.
but when somebody understands that, right? Like we're not trying to do it on purpose.
Hmm.
It's like we just lose track of time. And not only do they understand it, but they give you some ideas or the way a neurotypical brain sees things,
Yeah.
and how to manage that to a certain degree, right? I think that is so helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm.
agree. Yeah, my husband, he'll bring certain things to my attention and it's not in like a condescending way, but that is a big issue I have. Like my perception of time is just ridiculous and he will always be like, "Well, you have to be there at a certain time. This certain time, you should probably give yourself a little bit more time to get ready or, whatever." And me, even things like routines, like routes, like driving routes. I don't know if, hopefully, I'm not alone in this, but this is it's such a weird thing, but it makes sense to me. But to my husband, he's like, what? So I'm like, if I have to go like out of routes, I get very stressed out. So
Mhm.
for example, like we live in a small, very small city. So he's like, if you have to backtrack 2 minutes, what does it matter? But I'm like, no, because it doesn't make sense. My brain, here's the route, here's the pattern, right? If I'm going like this, then it makes sense to go in that square. But why go here, then here, and then like it makes me want to freak out. Like it doesn't make sense to me, and there's so in my head, I'm like, no, this is planned and precise and it makes sense. And it's me, trying to be responsible and organized to where somebody else is like, what are you even talking about? Or it's like,
No,
give me
I
an extra two
totally
minutes. What does
agree.
it matter?
Yeah, yeah. No, and I totally agree because I think we receive so many messages growing up of like there's something wrong with us,
Hmm.
right? That we try to manage things or not things, but the anxiety that comes with that of trying to
Hmm.
perform to a in a way that is going to help us fit in, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's why when we are able to create a routine or create a pattern and we're able to stick to it, it gives us a sense of control. Therefore, the anxiety
Yes.
subsides.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Because too, I'm like, I went through a period in life where I didn't try to control a damn thing because I was like, what does it matter? Things are going to come up anyway. And then I got, back with my now husband, and he's a planner. He likes things early. He likes, all these things. And I'm like, oh shit. So like now I got to scramble. I need to be, because also a lot of times we kind of take on components of other personalities
Uh-huh.
if that component is pleasing, right? And so, I've got it. And this was not him like forcing me to be like this. This was just me, right? Like, okay, well, I need to operate like that too now. And so I went through a period where I tried to be like perfect and precise with a lot of things because it made more sense. It makes things flow better, it's more responsible, and blah, blah, blah. And that was so stressful to me. Like, but then I'm like,
Yes.
I'm also maturing and growing in certain ways. So I do understand that things should be organized when we can organize them. But it's like sometimes our brains it can go from one extreme to the other, to where I'm not doing any of this and whatever happens just happens, to I gotta have everything perfect.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, but it's that sense of control, right?
Yeah.
Because everything feels so chaotic. I don't know if this happens to you, but when I don't take my medication, I feel like myself, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm goofy. I'm like, yeah, like I can just have more fun.
Yeah.
But if I take it, then I'm like this, like really focused. Um, but my brain, when I don't take the medication, it's also like scattered. There's like, I'm just thinking about all the things that I have to do and how there's not enough time for me to do them, but they gotta get done and they gotta
Yes.
get done right now,
Yep. Yep.
right? Like,
Everything is high priority. Yeah.
yes, there's no like, oh, I should be doing this first and then this. And no, it's like everything has to be done right now.
Right. 100%. So
Mhm.
I've tried a few medications and I don't like feeling jittery.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't like feeling over caffeinated. And all three of them that I've tried, like I was on the phone with a friend one day driving to work, and he was like, "Are you on drugs?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" But I'm like, and he's like, "Are you on drugs?" I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "You're just like you're talking really fast, and you're kind of like, I don't know, it's weird." And he's like, I know you don't do drugs, but like, did you maybe just start or like, did you try
All of a
something? What is
sudden.
happening? All of a sudden, you just wanted to, do drugs. I'm like, well, I took an ADHD medication today. And he was like, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's gonna, I don't know. And I'm
You
like,
sound more ADHD right now.
I feel it right. Like I'm like, yeah, I don't like it, but I already took it. And yeah, here I am.
Right.
It just and so I've tried, because they always want to give you stimulants.
Mhm.
I've tried stimulants, and they're just I feel like I'm over caffeinated, and I don't like that feeling. And so I also tried another Phenermin a while back, and it made me feel the same way. I took half, and I was at work, and I was just sitting there. I felt like I was like going like this, just standing around, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I'll just be my normal self because if that's what it does to my brain. Now, keep in mind that when you first start a medication, your body has to adjust. But I don't know, like ugh.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
I've had
and
people tell me like, okay, well, I started taking this ADHD, but two different people. One, he's in his early 60s, and one, she's in her mid 20s. And they both described it to me as like, like I can breathe and things are calm and my thoughts are rational. And part of me is just like, what? Like, so you want me to be a completely different person? Like, I don't know, it's weird, but
yes.
it's kind of scary to me too, to like my brain be completely different, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. It totally does because um whether we want it or not, I mean, we're messing with the chemistry of our brain,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's why we can see the changes. And I think it goes to whether you're predominantly inattentive or hyperactive. I'm predominantly hyperactive. So what that means is this is going to sound crazy, but it's not that you are overstimulated, you're understimulated. So that's why we fidget, we
Hmm.
move a lot because we're trying to stimulate our brain. And so for someone who's hyperactive, stimulants will work best. And I'm not a doctor, this is just stuff that I researched, right?
Yeah.
But for somebody who's primarily inattentive, um, they may benefit more from a non-stimulant, which
Hmm.
are your SSRIs or NR. I think they're called, norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors. So
Mhm.
one works on the serotonin, and then the other one works on a different type of chemical in our brain. But when I tried the non-stimulants, I was asleep the whole day. I remember, so before I used to work like 40 plus hours, like I had 40 plus clients a week.
Oh, wow.
And yes, and I was like just going and going. And when I started to try out the non-stimulants, I remember sleeping through 2 of my sessions during the
Oh,
afternoon.
oh no.
And then I woke up and I'm like, oh my God,
Right.
client. But and the
Wow.
stimulants make me feel like what you were describing, these people have told you. They make me feel calm and they
That's
take away the anxiety. Yeah,
wow. Hmm.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. So
I
maybe
think
I
it's
should
just the
try.
brain.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I should try a non-stimulant.
I mean, you couldn't see how that works out for you, right? Like I said, for me, it made me feel sleepy, but I do have friends that take non-stimulants and they do great with it. But
Yeah.
they do have really high anxiety, which is the other thing that happens with ADHD. You're not just treating ADHD, you're
Right.
often treating ADHD, anxiety, and depression.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, because it's kind of like this misfire, right, in our brain. So we're misfiring and things aren't connecting, and so it makes us feel anxious about, for one, the things I'm not getting done or how I'm coming across people, our interactions and our task list and everything, which then in turn can create depression because now you're depressed about feeling inadequate, uh,
Not getting things done.
unproductive,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Hmm.
unproductive, and it can make you feel all these negative things, and then you can experience depression. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's something I've noticed that in my one of my kids,
Mm-hmm.
that their ADHD is a little different from mine, in a sense of like they're not running around crazy. They have more, yeah, kind of like a lack of motivation because
True.
of anxiety, depression, and the things that are kind of connected. So it's and that's interesting too.
Hmm.
When you have ADHD and you have one or more kids with ADHD, you can both have ADHD and it look a little bit different.
Yes.
Me and my 18-year-olds look a little bit different. Me and my 10-year-olds, it's like me battling against myself sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
but
can't you do this? Oh, I do it too.
right, right. Or he'll be like,
Yeah.
well, mom, you blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, shit, I guess you're right. All right, so let's figure this out together then because, yeah, now I'm being a hypocrite.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the meme of I think the movie is called Ted Lasso, where Will Ferrell is screaming, save the children, save the children. Have you seen it? And then the background says, uh, me not knowing how to do self-regulation and trying to teach my kids how to self-regulate.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
true.
And
Yeah.
it's crazy that you're saying this because I went on a trip with my husband and then we came back. So my week started actually on Wednesday.
Mhm.
And the first 2 clients that I had are women between mid 30s and 50s. And both of them, well, one of them is neurodivergent. The other one, I'm pretty sure there's some level of neurodivergence.
Yeah.
Um, but both of them were like, I wish I could be this type of mom who's calm. And when my kid is losing it, that I can be like, it's okay. I got it. What do you need? It's okay to feel this way. And I'm like, you and I both want to do that.
I will say I do that a lot more now than I
Mhm.
did when I was 14, 18, 21, even raising a kid. Um, but I intentionally, especially having a child that his ADHD looks so much like mine, it's really like kind of pushed me into, like because yeah, like we're so similar in that if I'm yelling at you, first of all, I believe that children shouldn't yell at their parents. You should be respectful. But then it's kind of like, okay, but if I'm yelling and screaming at you all the time, it's kind of hard to enforce that when I'm literally teaching you to do that. And then I can say, well, I'm yelling because you kept blah, 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 or, whatever, but then I'm still not teaching emotional regulation.
Right.
So, it's, yeah.
Yeah, and we teach our kids through modeling, right? So it's like what
Absolutely.
you're saying.
Yeah.
If I want you to do this, but I'm doing the complete opposite,
Yeah.
I'm actually teaching you to do the opposite.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I totally agree. And you said something else, like kids being respectful. Something was going through my head that I was like, yes.
Um,
Um,
I believe that children should be respectful to their parents. Like you're not going to yell at me
right,
because, whatever's going on in your life. And I think that respect should be automatic, but at the same time, we also have to be realistic and understand that yes, while we're the parent and we deserve their respect, but if I'm not earning the respect in any way and I'm just being disrespectful all the time, then I can't really expect you to automatically respect me.
right. Yeah, yeah. And I think this is what the thought that sparked in me that uh yes, definitely children shouldn't be screaming at parents, and we shouldn't be screaming at our children. But the scientific reason for that, it's because when you hear a scream, it's going to activate you and your child because that's
Mm,
like a warning, right? It's like you're in danger. So what does it do? It creates adrenaline, it creates cortisol, and
that's so true. That
that's
makes so
going
much
to
sense.
escalate things, right? Rather
Yep,
than bring you
yep,
down, it's going to
yep.
escalate things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, One thing that I want to make sure and kind of go over to for, the listeners who aren't super familiar, and maybe you have a kid in your life or an adult, because I know people that have been diagnosed as adults too, right? In your life that you're like, I'm having this difficulty with maybe connecting with or understanding, or like my husband sometimes will be like, hey, can you just sit down? Or like, can you stop moving so much? And I'm like, what? Like, I'm an adult. I don't, in my mind, unintentionally, I'm kind of like, well, I'm an adult. I'm not like hyper like a kid.
Yeah.
First of all, as you can see, I talk with my hands constantly. I am I move all the time. I move when I sleep all the time. I move when I'm sitting down and when I like kind of self-reflect. Like there's this joke, another joke in my house that if there's a movie on, your mom's gonna vacuum. And I'm like, okay, whatever, y'all are just like picking on me. But then I started paying attention and I'm like, I don't know what it is, but anytime like we sit down and put something on TV, I have to vacuum really quick. What the hell is that? I don't
Yeah,
even know. It's like
exactly.
I see something and now I have vacuumed the whole room. Why? I have no idea, but it is something that I do. And maybe it's like because my body's like, oh, you got to sit down and do this. And I'm
Right.
like, watch me.
I'm laughing because for me, it's the watering the plants.
Really?
It's like all of a sudden, oh, let me go and look for my plants. Do they have
Right.
water?
Right. There's something I'm supposed to be doing around here.
Right.
It's so, but if I want to sit on this couch and not be bothered, I need to be able to sit on this couch and not be bothered, right?
Right. Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. But
Yes.
I'm glad to know that it's not just me. Um,
Yeah, but that's, I think that is part of the understimulation. That's why it's so painful to stay seated.
I want to briefly just kind of let everybody know the differences between the kind of different the kind of general differences between a neurotypical and a neurodivergent brain. And I think we kind of mentioned them a little bit. One thing, the kind of social cues at times we have difficulty with social cues, or, for kind of example, how if you're telling us a story, we're going to tell you one back so you feel related to, but not because we're trying to like compare here.
Yeah,
Um, and then there is this need for control because we don't very often feel in control of our brain. And so we try to take control everywhere else that we can. And this is something that through coming into my 40s, it's kind of been like the core of my focus. And that's control within the outside world and the past. Because, also working through some past traumas, I have to learn that I can't control what I can't control. And whether that be in the moment, whether that be the past, it's been a really big focus of
right,
mine. And so, but it is a thing that we have issues with. We can't control a lot of what's in here. So we try to control a lot of what's external, right? Um,
right.
um, Adaptability in environments. It can be difficult for us to adjust to different environments. Um,
Or it can be the opposite too. We can become chameleons, um,
yes,
and change very easily. Hmm.
yes, yeah. No, I'm glad you said that too. Yeah, for sure. And kind of like how we were discussing like picking up other people's traits, and
Oh, yes,
sometimes
yes.
we kind of chameleon ourselves because well that's more pleasing to people. And that's also something that I have a friend who she has borderline personality disorder, and that's also a component of that. But she also has ADHD, and so we're talking, and I'm like, well, it could stem from both, right? Because we do it in those of us who have ADHD, but having a neurodivergent brain in general, that is something that we kind of, because we want to fit in, we want to be liked by the people
Right,
that we're around. And so if there's something about us that we don't feel like is going to be pleasing to those other people, then we're going to kind of mask it and pretend like, oh no, no, I'm like you.
right, right. Because then it's about belonging, right?
Yeah.
Then we feel like we don't belong. Um, like the other thing that I was thinking about adaptability, it's just like in the US, depending on where you go, like there's different accents and different ways of, like, I guess, like slang, right? It's the
Yeah.
same thing in Mexico.
Yeah.
And I'm from the northern part of Mexico, which is the state of Chihuahua. It's the largest state in Mexico. And my dad moved to another state called Nuevo León, and they have a very different way of talking. Like in my state, you pronounce the CH a lot. So like if I say Chihuahua, right? Like you
Hmm.
pronounce like that, Chihuahua. Um, but in Nuevo León, they speak kind of like singing, right? Like I don't know how to say it, but there's like this tune to talking. So my dad moved there for work, and I would go on vacation, and every time I would come back, I would have that accent.
Really?
I would speak like if I was from Nuevo León, and everybody was like, what's wrong with you?" But it's the adaptability, right? Like
No, that's so
what is
fun.
that other thing, echolalia, when you're
Yeah.
repeating things over and over in your head, right?
Yes.
I feel like the accent change was part of that too,
Hmm.
because like I was repeating in my head constantly how people were talking. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's another thing that happens with ADHD.
Is that's so interesting because there's there's random times and different people in my house do it and we do it now just kind of like because it's funny, but there's time I would just like randomly start speaking in an accent, and like that's just how I'm talking to people. Like I won't do it out in the world because they wouldn't get it. But I'll just randomly start speaking in a different accent, and now like they'll do it with me, and it becomes like this thing. But that and the repetition. So, there's a woman that I've seen on like TikTok and Instagram Reels, and she she's like, like the day in the life of my ADHD brain. And it always starts out like, throw that ass in a circle. And then she'll think something like, throw that ass in a circle. Okay, I need to go do dishes. Throw that ass in a circle. Okay, I need to go like, and it's just like, I'm like, that's so accurate because we just think of like random
Random
song shit,
stuff.
like
Yeah.
random lines from songs, and then we'll sing it or sing it in our head or, go around singing it in our house and people either are like, what? Or
Oh my God,
that
I feel
phrase,
so seen.
right? That phrase, after I heard it from her a couple times,
Yeah.
got stuck in my head. So now randomly I'll look at my husband and be like, throw that ass in a circle. He's like, I don't want to. No,
You
thank you.
know, the one other thing that happens to me is like people can be talking and then maybe they say a specific phrase and then I think about a song, right? And then I start
Yeah.
singing it. Oh
Yes.
my God.
So I thought that was just like a me and my husband thing for the longest time because but like I've known him since high school. So I've known him a long
Okay.
time, and, but this has been the whole time we've lived together, which is like close to 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
One of us will say something and the other one, like, we're really big into music. And so we do that with each other all the time. And so I thought it was just, like a thing that people did.
Yeah.
So
Yes, like I'm thinking, I don't know, like my husband may say, like, could you please take the trash out? And then I start singing, could you be
oh,
loved?
yep.
It's just hilarious. I think that's called
Yes.
hyper associations. We start
Oh,
thinking
that makes
about
sense.
something and then we associate it with something else and then something else and then something else. And then next thing you know, we're in a completely different topic and people are
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about?
Yes. Yes. Because that's a thing for sure, too. You put me and my mom together, and we'll have 5 conversations in one conversation, but we somehow always circle back and finish everything.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You have multiple conversations, but you close them all. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, one thing that I was listening to, I love hearing podcasts. Um and I've been hearing to his name is Dr. K. I know we're almost about to close the episode. Um but his name is Dr. K. I think his podcast is called The Healthy Gamer. And he was saying that one part of the brain that is not impacted by ADHD is the part that creates routines. But the part that it is impacted, or I guess the part that is hardest to get to is that one.
Oh,
So because we have a hard time keeping routines,
yes.
right?
Yes.
But once
Yes.
we're able to do, that magic number, the 21 days of doing something consistently,
Hmm.
then we're able to access it and then it'll stay in there.
It,
So,
hmm.
yeah. So
It
we,
makes sense though, because it takes about what, like a solid month of doing something to kind of keep it consistent.
right. But once we create the routine, we're able to keep it. It's just accessing that part of the brain.
Huh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's good to know. And
Yeah.
you said the healthy gamer.
The healthy gamer. Uh-huh.
Okay. I'll I'll
Yes.
um I'll put the link to that in the description too.
I think that's a great resource for people just exploring themselves.
Mhm.
Dr. K talks a lot about Ayurvedic types of interventions to treat depression and anxiety, ADHD.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, he's a psychiatrist, so he does prescribe medication, but he's also really big on just holistic ways of treating it. So I think that's great for anybody trying to just understand themselves better, understand the brain better.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And then I think for your audience, like parents, the Attitude magazine. So it's Attitude with double D. And they have a webpage, attitudemag.com. But they have a lot of free resources in there, a lot of webinars that are free,
Okay.
as well
Right.
as Dr. K has a lot of free ones, right? And both of them have memberships, but I think just the free ones are very, very helpful.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely put that information in there too.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you wanted to cover before we go?
I think just one of the biggest things to talk about a neurodivergent brain is the impact it has on executive functioning, which is our
Yeah.
ability to get organized, get started with tasks, self-regulate our emotions, but also regulate our effort and focus. It's really
Yeah.
hard for us, right? So most people think about ADHD as just inability to focus, but it's not that. It's inability to focus. It's inability to manage our emotions or being driven by emotions more than logic. And then also we have lower levels of dopamine, which is our reward system chemical. So
Yeah.
that's why it's really hard for us to get started with things, because we need something that is giving us dopamine. And if something's boring,
Yeah.
it's not giving us that. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that's one of the biggest things to think about if you have someone, a child or someone in your life who has ADHD, is to try to understand that, right? It's not personal. They're not doing it to you. They're struggling with it. And it actually makes our life harder. That's why ADHD is a disability, is considered a disability.
Yeah, no, and I love that too because in relation to parenting and children, I went through a period with my 10-year-old, and this is me growing up with ADHD and understanding it. I went through a period with my 10-year-old, and I'm like, I took it so personal. I took the things that he was doing so personal. And then, I just kind of one day I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. That's kind of hypocritical because, well, I don't want, I tell my husband certain things like, I swear I'm not doing this on purpose, and I'm not. And so for me to kind of be personally offended by the things that my son is doing when they're not, like it is kind of hypocritical. And so, but it's easy to do. And when you feel like you're the one experiencing all these things from this person, it's hard not to take it personal. But it is important to understand that it's not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. Like, people have the right to feel the emotions that come with being the recipient of
Yeah,
the symptoms, right?
yeah,
Um, and and you also have the right to say something, right? And I think what I'm just trying to say is be mindful of how it impacts the other person because of that
yeah,
RSD, right? The rejection sensitivity dysphoria. When we
yeah,
hear criticism or rejection, it's physically painful.
yes, yeah,
And there's different ways of saying that, like, hey, I know you cannot control this part of it at this moment, but I want to help you do that because it hurts me when you yell at me,
yeah,
or it hurts me when you direct all that anger towards me. So if there's anything I can do to help you not do that, please let me know. How do I help you help me? Right?
yeah. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here again. And I look forward to our next conversation and let everybody know where they can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram through my business page, Spring Notes Counseling. And so at Spring Notes Counseling, same thing for Facebook. And then I'm on TikTok as Nidia and Nidia 11.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Check us out on YouTube at Reah Higgs, ReahHagues. You can also keep up with us on Instagram at Just the Who Podcast.